All right. So welcome, everyone. You are at the U.S. campaign's briefing on the Land Day briefing. I am Sandra Tamari. I am a staff person with the Adalah Justice Project here in the U.S. And we're very pleased to be joined by Haneen Zoabi, Palestinian member of Knesset, a vocal advocate for Palestinian rights. She has been today at Land Day protests and marches in Palestine, has been following events that happening in the Naqab, particularly in the village of Umm Al-Hiran. And we are so thrilled to have you, Haneen, to talk a bit about this political moment, this particular day, this day of commemoration, memory, this day of thinking about the land, thinking about Palestinian connections to the land and Palestinian resistance to ongoing Nakba, ongoing settler colonialism. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you especially Haneen for making time on this very busy day to be with us. We had planned a bit of a different kind of framework for today's briefing. Unfortunately, the other panelists were pulled into different activities today, considering what's going on at Gaza. But we're very thrilled, Haneen, to be able to focus in with you and to talk a little bit about your reflections. So could you begin by telling us a little bit about what Land Day means to Palestinians and what your reflections are on this day?
First of all, let me say good evening, according to our local time here. And I cannot not start with what's happening today, now, in these moments in Gaza. Till now, 13 Palestinians were killed by soldiers in a peaceful march, in a sign that Palestinian people cannot keep silent after a siege upon Gaza. We are not commemorating Land Day. It is an ongoing act of colonialism. It's an ongoing policy of oppression, of trying to even oppress identity, rewrite history, rewrite geography. People, I can understand, I can imagine the meaning of people who came here to live with me, although they need my permission in order to agree, but it is even not the right description of what's happening here and what happened since the last 100 years. It's people who came in order to replace me. Now, what we are saying in Gaza, it is an outcome, I would say, for two basic conditions. The first one, total demonization of the Palestinians. A total demonization which you can describe the whole Israeli society accepting the fact of killing youth in Jerusalem, for example, 12 years old of Palestinian youth, under the claim that they put in danger Israeli soldiers. So if you can understand this kind of logics, so you will conclude that we are reaching a point which the Palestinian humanity is absent in the consciousness of the Israelis. I cannot imagine a very strong army, a well-developed, well-armed soldiers who just killed during the last 6 hours 12 Palestinians which are far away from them. We must see the dynamics of a complicated problem, not just oppression. This is the priceless oppression, not just the siege. It's a priceless siege. Israel doesn't pay the price of its crimes. Israel doesn't pay doesn't pay the price of killing Palestinians. According to Amnesty, one Palestinian every 3.6 days. So, and according to the statistics, the Israeli society, the whole Israeli society is shifting more and more towards the right wing, is more and more accepting this contradiction between the Jewishness of the state and the democracy of the state, and giving priority to the Jewishness of the state, to an extreme nationalist, I would say racist, Zionist ideas, on the expense of democratic and human values. So usually when you say Palestinian issue, people talk about the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, while forgetting the Palestinians whom Israel didn't expel in 1948. I am the fourth or fifth generation of the 150,000 Palestinians within 850,000 Palestinians whom Israel didn't expel in 1948. And from the perception of Israel, I even shouldn't call myself a Palestinian. The Palestinians whom Israel is killing now in Gaza are accepted as Palestinians in the Israeli mind and perception. Me, whom Israel imposed upon me its citizenship in 1948, we didn't call for this citizenship. We didn't ask for this citizenship. It was the Israeli decision to give us after making ethnic cleansing to our people in 1948. So the idea was, well, we have these 150,000 Palestinians whom we didn't expel, and we were the weakest section of the Palestinian people, the less educated, the less with political consciousness, the less wealthy, because Israel first of all expelled the upper class, the middle class, and it targeted the citizens of the Palestinian cities. So we were the weakest part of the Palestinian people, and by this citizenship, Israel expected to tame us. Mm-hmm. So citizenship was not a strategy of empowerment, was not a strategy or a framework of rights. It was a bargain to bargain us. We will give you an Israeli citizenship, and you will give up your identity, mm-hmm. and your connection to your people and your connection to your history. And we are asking you we are not just asking your land, because Umm Al-Hiran now is an act also of confiscation to replace the Palestinians, and we will talk about Umm Al-Hiran, but the idea that we need from you also not just your land and your identity, we need your loyalty. Mm-hmm. You will be loyal not to laws which accept me and respect me, but we, the Jewish state, we need you to be loyal to Zionism. So actually, it's a very absurd that I should accept this relation of humiliation, not just oppression. You are humiliating me by accepting me to be loyal to the state which comes in order to replace me. And now you are accepting Umm Al-Hiran to accept the fact that the state wants to remove them for second or even third time after 1948. And what Umm Al-Hiran is saying to the state of Israel, either we will stay on our land, or we will go back to the villages you expelled us from in the 50s. And the 800, we should know that in the Negev, which Umm Al-Hiran and which another 5 the Israeli plan is to destroy another 5 Palestinian villages and replace them with 5 Jewish villages. It is not a matter of lack of land. The Negev is half of Palestine. The Negev contains 12 million dunums. If you want to live, you can live in this within any part of this 12 million dunum. But no, you want to target the 2% of my land. Now the Palestinians, who are 18% of the population, living upon 2.3% of the land. So you want still to follow me and to expel me from this 2% in order to control. So the idea is to control. The idea is to control the land. The idea is to control the people. The idea is to Judaize the land, because this is the only meaning of Jewish state. So it is not a matter, and by this I will finish. I know I tend to speak a lot. It is the issue is not discrimination. Discrimination. This is not the right word to describe what's happening here. The issue of it is to replace us. It is apartheid, and it's a colonialist actually regime, because by discrimination you give A more than B, but this is to take from me and to give to those who came to my homeland again, not in order to live with me, but in order to replace me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for your comments, Haneen. There's so much to pick up on. I want to focus on Umm Al-Hiran just for a moment. We can talk more about this idea of colonizing the mind of Palestinians inside 48. I think this is also an interesting conversation, but maybe that's something that you and I can talk about at some other point. But Umm Al-Hiran, I think it's important to note, is inside 48. It's on the Israeli side of the Green Line, and we talk about the Green Line as if it is real. And I want to reflect with you a little bit about the reaction here in the US, for instance, about the proposed demolition of Susia, which is just on the other side of the Green Line in the West Bank, a few miles away from Umm Al-Hiran, and get your ideas about how the discourse inside Israel is on this division, if it really exists in the discourse.
Okay, first of all, let me say to you that this is not a debate within the Israeli society. Although we are talking about 25,000 people whom Israel wants to expel and to remove from their land, it is not an issue within the Israeli agenda. It is not in the minds of the Israelis, unless we go out to the streets and struggle and maybe being shot by the Israelis. Then we are part of the discussion. But as long as you are oppressed without challenging the system, without really challenging the system and go to demonstrate, so you are out of the Israeli consciousness. And not just to reinforce racism by justifying discrimination and by justifying oppression, that we want this land and this is a Jewish state, and the only meaning of the Jewish state is to develop, first of all, the Jewish people, the Israelis. It's also a matter of how irrelevant the 18% of the Palestinians are within the Israeli collective land, and how easy, and I will give you some examples about the discourse inside the Knesset, for example. When we try to discuss the proper plan of evacuating the Palestinians from the Negev, the answers we get within the Knesset from ministers and from MKs, it is three typical answers. First of all, well, this is a Jewish state. And by Jewish state, we have, first of all, priority to develop for the Jewish people. Second of all, you are invaders. You are the new procedures. Yeah, the new procedures, I think this is the expression, and you are invaders. So in Susia and in the other side of the Greenland, we need it for matters of security. We need to evacuate the Palestinians for matter of security in order to expand Jewish settlements and to evacuate this region, because we want to annex this land without the Palestinian. We want just to annex this land. This is the discourse, more a security discourse. The discourse for the Palestinians inside, the citizens are more violent, are more colonialist, saying that we are invaders. This is the land of the Jewish people. You have nothing to do with this land, and we, the state, have the right to put you elsewhere, to gather you as part or as a neighborhood in an already existing village, even with this village lacked a lot of housing units for its original inhabitants. So Israel, for Israel and for the Israeli consciousness, it doesn't matter if you are inside the borders of Israel or within the West Bank. We are Palestinians, and as long as you are Palestinian, so we have the ability, we have the legitimacy to control your land. But it's important for me that there is not so much need to justify what is the state is doing with Umm Al-Hiran, because again, it is not an issue. It is not an issue within the Israeli media debate, and not even within the Knesset. So this is the way to demonize the Palestinians, more to demonize the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. And regarding the Palestinians within Israel, either to ignore them or to divide them between the good Arabs, the moderate Arabs, and the bad Arabs, the bad Palestinians who are extremists, and whatever the state is doing with them, it's in order to defend itself.
There is also, I believe, a discourse around the Bedouin Palestinians of the Naqab that Israel is trying to modernize the Bedouin and pull them into urban areas for their own benefit, to make them civilized. There's this discourse as well. Can you talk a little bit about that kind of racism that exists inside?
Yeah, actually, this was more a discourse before 2011, 2012, when Israel tried to make more balance between its Jewish side and its democratic side. And you will be maybe surprised by saying that even this justification is now taking place less and less and less, that we want to modernize you. There is no need even to justify. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Till 2011, till 2012, before the mass demonstration, the proper mass demonstration, while hundreds of youth go and block the streets, and because of that, Israel has freezed the law within the Knesset, but has changed the strategy from a massive evacuation to gradual evacuation. Since then, Israel tried to justify, but it is so clear discourse that we reject it. Israel cannot lie to us. Maybe it uses this, and I think it uses this discourse towards you, toward the international community, but not within Israel. Within Israel, the last 5 years, the discourse of Judaizing the area, of Jewish state, of the Palestinians as a strategic threat, the demographic threat of the Palestinians, that we must Judaize Galilee, we must Judaize the Negev, is the dominant discourse, without any pretense or tendency to cover this with more liberal arguments the argument you mentioned, to modernize. It's even, there is no need even, they are more honest now. The Israeli society really is more honest now. You will listen to them in the Knesset. They are so honest. They will say to the Palestinians, you are invaders. They will say to the Bedouins, the Palestinian Bedouins, this is the land of the Jewish state, and we are deciding, and you must go, and it is not your land. You have nothing. You have no right in this land. This is, as I said, the right just of the state. We can give individual farms for the Jewish in the Negev, giving thousands and tens of thousands dunum for individual farmers, to make Jewish individual farmers in order to control the land. And we want you to be gathered within this village or within that village without really no need. Now it's so frank, so open, so honest. Is racist discourse, a pure racist discourse.
Wow. So no need to justify pure settler colonialism. I know that you were in Umm Al-Hiran recently, last week, I believe. And for folks who maybe are not familiar with what is happening, there are 350 people living in this village. They are not connected to basic services. These are citizens of the state of Israel. They do not have running water. They do not have bus services to schools. They are living really off the grid, as we say. This was intentional to try to force them to leave voluntarily, but now they have been served demolition notices. All the structures, all the homes, the mosque have been served a notice saying that some demolitions will take place sometime between April 15th and April 29th, which is in just a couple of weeks, potentially. Can you tell me what are the people of this village doing, and what do they want to have happen? What are the strategies they're using to resist this?
Okay, first of all, what they want to stay on their land, even, and to be recognized, because you see there's a phenomena, very unique phenomena within this Jewish state called unrecognized villages. This means more than 30 Palestinian villages don't exist on the Israeli map, without electricity, without water, without schools, without infrastructure, without kindergarten, without any health services. Not just this, but they don't exist on the map. So to see the connection of the Palestinian to his land, even this is the situation, these 35,000 or 25,000 Palestinians in the Negev don't want to be removed. They want to be recognized in these villages. They want to have the services, the minimum human condition to live within. But even when you said that these villages lack services and they don't want to be removed, even if they're removed within the Negev, also the other villages lack a lot of initial services. It is not to be removed from a desert to a very modern villages. Because of this claim of modernization is a stupid claim. You are not even removing me from a desert to a well-organized and recognized villages with all the services and with all the rights. No, the whole situation of the Palestinians in the Negev is a situation with huge gaps between the Jewish population and the Palestinian population. More than 60% of the Palestinians in the Negev are under poverty line. More than 67% of the children, of the Palestinian children in the Negev, are under poverty line. So what's their demands? Their demands to stay on their land or to go back to the land which Israel has removed them from, and to be recognized in these villages, and to have the minimum infrastructure. And what is the struggle? Till now, I would say in heroine in a very with a very just with their will and just with their keen and special relation with the land, they succeeded to stay in the Negev. And when I say they, I don't just speak about the Palestinians in the Negev, because for us, the Palestinians, also in the Galilee, also in the triangle, we are Palestinians. The issue of Al-Hiran is also the issue of the Galilee, is also the issue of the 1 million Palestinians. We are now commemorating Land Day because it is not the land of Arabi, or historically the village which Israel wants, Arabi and Deir Hanan Batuf, Sakhneen, which Israel wants to confiscate the land from 1976, which we commemorate now. We are commemorating as a Palestinian people. We are commemorating because the issue of land and of controlling land is still the main issue between us and between the state. So what is the strategy? The strategy is in Arabic sumud, to stand still. That women, children, youth, men and women saying and believing and saying that we will not sign any documents. And it was the Israel put them under pressures from every kind of pressure that you can imagine, also economic pressures, also to attract them in with solution and houses and scenarios. If they signed the document, so they didn't sign, they will just by their bodies, you can say, prevent the state and the police and the Israeli forces from evacuating them. Second of all, they are not alone. Our strategy, and there will be also a political meeting in the follow-up committee, follow-up committee, which is the highest political organization which represents all the parties and all the Palestinians, is to
inside the Knesset.
Not inside the Knesset. No, even it represents parties which are not represented, and political movement which are not represented in the Knesset, like some which are not represented, because not all the parties has representation inside the Knesset. The only way is a popular struggle, to demonstrate, to have thousands of Palestinians to stand in front of the bulldozers, to have 1,000 Palestinians to stand in front of the police, to have thousands of Palestinians to protect with their bodies the men and women and youth and children of the Negev. Second of all, international campaign. Second of all, the solidarity campaigns. The defense of Israel, the strongest defense of Israel, that we are a democracy. So, okay, we don't even talk about the Palestinians in Gaza, whom you are killing every day. We are talking now about citizens. Look what this democratic state is doing to its citizens. Evacuation the same as in the West Bank. Expanding the same as in the expanding settlements in the West Bank. Ethnic cleansing from their area and gathering them and putting them into small ghettos. So this is the same strategy within two sides of the Greenland line. So we want you really to expand this information and tell everybody whom Israel, who I would say accept this myth of Israel as a democratic state, and sending letters and even delegations here, and also trying to, I don't know, influence your ambassador, who is more Zionist than a lot of Zionists here. But this is an international campaign and also our own struggle. There is no logic to wait for any change from within.
Yeah.
No logic.
Yeah.
to wait from a change from within the Israeli society. Israel, and would be my last sentence with this question, Israel doesn't pay the price of its crimes. And I would indicate this problem as the biggest problem. It's not racism, it's the priceless racism. It is not just occupation, it is the priceless occupation. Israel is not, we don't put, Israel is not accountable, we don't make it accountable to its own crimes.
Thank you, Haneen. You really have challenged all of us here in the US to pay a price, to try to be the ones that are forcing that price on Israel. You know, if you're talking about mass uprisings, and what we're seeing at Gaza today is that Palestinians are paying a heavy price. They're fighting on every front, and that it's the duty of the international community that has more space to operate, to be raising this issue. And the Adalah Justice Project, in cooperation with the US campaign, will be thinking through next steps on how to put pressure on our own government to raise the issue of Umm Al-Hiran, and obviously to raise the issue holistically. Like, this Umm Al-Hiran is a manifestation of Israeli settler colonialism. It is a manifestation that resonates here in the US because it is Israel. It is Israeli citizens that are being displaced. And so this is an opportunity for us to educate about, you know, Israel's intention for the whole land of Palestine, not just West Bank settlements, not just Gaza, not just Jerusalem, but really the whole of the land is what they're after. The logic is maximum amount of land with a minimal amount of indigenous people to that land. So we thank you for making that so clear for us. I want to give you one final word. You know, today has been a day of exuberance in that we're seeing a resurgence in resistance, and Land Day is about resurgence of resistance. It also is a very sad day as we mourn the growing toll of lost lives in Gaza. We're seeing Israeli authorities putting out messages saying, don't worry, it's just Palestinian young men that are being killed. In other words, the dehumanization of our own people. As long as it's just Palestinian men that are being killed, no problem, nothing to see here. With all of this that's happening today, I wonder, could you just give us a word of what gives you hope? What's your vision? What do you think that we should be looking forward to?
Gaza gives us a hope. Gaza, after 11 years of siege, and you are saying these brave women and men and children and youth. This is our hope. The sumud of Gaza was for us a hope, and now this new method to reuse this strategy of popular resistance, of going out of the street, of saying we want to live and we will live, and we will not accept any oppression. And these brave women and youth and men, they are a model. They are somewhat, this is a hope. Gaza now is the tragedy and the hope at the same time.
Thank you so much, Haneen. We're so grateful to you. Thank you for being with us for this last few minutes. We are looking closely at developments, and we want to thank everyone for joining us today. This was live streamed on Facebook. It'll be available on the US campaign's Facebook page, and it will be posted as a recording. Again, thank you to you all, and take care.
Thank you, Sandra. Bye-bye.
All the best to everyone. Bye.
Bye.